There are few projects, few properties, few things that have been marketed so poorly that have been misconstrued, misrepresented by the people in charge of the IP as Amazon's Lord of the Rings prequel series, The Rings of Power, Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings, Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings prequel series. Look at how diverse Lord of the Rings prequel series is. And one of the instances that we're going to talk about today is this Fellowship of Superfans video that Amazon Prime released in conjunction with their marketing campaign that's so terrible, so embarrassing, and shows you what Amazon actually thinks the people watching this show are supposed to look, act, and sound like, and we have to go over it. And Amazon, by the way, has already taken down this video because even they knew that this was absurd in every way, and everybody involved in it was embarrassed to have had a hand in it. But we got a promotion, we got an ad. I'm gonna play the ad, and then I'll catch you on the other side before we talk about it. Look, I hate to get personal with you, but your sheets are gross. There's an odor, they're a magnet for bacteria, you're sweating in them all the time, but guess what? It's not 100% your fault. Now, humans are gross in general, but it's still not 100% your personal fault. But this is where mymiraclesheets.com comes in, because you see, these wonderful sheets that they were gracious enough to send me a sample of actually have an antimicrobial silver interwoven into the fabric, and me, being the guy that I am, think silver sheets, those must be rock hard. No, they're definitely not. They're actually very soft to the touch, and probably the best sheets I've ever used in my entire life. Also, it improves all the problems I was talking about, odor, bacne, all those issues. mymiraclesheets.com antimicrobial system deals with in a great way. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Amazon is a hip company. Jeff Bezos, you may think he's an old guy, you may think he's a shark in terms of business, an American innovator who is unparalleled in his ways of building a company, but actually Amazon is very hip to the groove, and one of the reasons we know that is based on the fact that they put out this video that opens like this.
Every time I was like, okay, take a breath, something new would happen, and it was
It's Middle Earth, there's never peace, right?
If like Sauron is hot, I feel like people will be like, I can fix him.
Middle Earth had like a club.
Yo, this tune is banging!
Awestruck, mystified, and starstruck.
Wow.
Wow is the word that I would use for it, but context is key, and I am not using the same wow as this person. This is what Amazon Studios thinks the audience, the target audience for their show is. Now, I've talked about multiple different times how I don't care about racial diversity, and honestly, I'm not that bent out of shape about it in terms of the show. What I find interesting is that Amazon wants to be praised constantly for racial diversity, despite the fact that they have racial diversity quotas, so they are literally picking people purposely to be representative of LGBT groups, handicaps, of women, and all this nonsense. And those women, by the way, have to represent 50% of the speaking roles. So this is something that they're manufacturing in the show, introducing in the way of politics, and they're trying to get praise for it, and they're trying to tell you that it's super popular with the youths. Now, we gotta get into this. This is their review of the trailer. I already went over the trailer and talked about how generic it was and how the key word was generic over everything, but they want to tell you about how if Sauron is hot, people are gonna want to fix him because Sauron hot, man. We got a hashtag Sauron so cute because we're youth and hip with it, and this is the target audience of Lord of the Rings.
If like Sauron is hot, I feel like people will be like, I can fix him.
My name's Mr. Isla, and I'm so excited because Prime Video's new epic fantasy series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, just dropped with a teaser trailer.
So I first need to point out that this guy's name is Mr. Isla. His first name rhymes with his last name, and also he is well disproportioned to what was actually shown in the trailer in his reaction. I'm so excited for The Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power. Obviously, this is supposed to be a hip, up-to-date host. He's with all the influencers who he calls the Fellowship of Influencers.
And I'm here with the Fellowship of Influencers. Chanel, Joel, and Kelsey. How you guys doing?
And the reason for that, if you guys don't know, is because this guy is trying to appeal to the kids. And I am not going to lose to Amazon Studios in my appeal to the youths because I got better connections with the youths than Amazon Studios. That's why for the remainder of this video, I will be repping my youthful look with this hat because this is how the kids be dressing. So yeah, I am Mr. Sean, and we're going to be talking about how Amazon is not as cool. Look at my hand movements, and look, I will bring my own fellowship of the influencers.
very excited after watching that.
Come on.
very intrigued to just see everyone else's thoughts and just gather what we all think.
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. All right, 3 words to describe the Rings of Power teaser trailer. Go.
Okay. Breathtaking. I literally didn't breathe. Exhilarating and intriguing.
I didn't notice that you weren't breathing.
Yeah,
I was going to call first aid.
It was like I was trying, but every time I was like, okay, take a breath, something new would happen, and it was.
Now, like I said, the trailer for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power was incredibly generic. It was like every other trailer, but this girl's gonna tell me that it was breathtaking, and she literally didn't breathe, bro. Like, I was gonna call the first aid because this chick wasn't breathing because it was so breathtaking. That's how breathtaking the trailer was. She literally didn't breathe. Again, this is what they think of not only the youths, but this is what they think of the audience of Lord of the Rings. That they could bring these social media influencers that nobody's ever heard of, these hip people, these Tolkien superfans that totally know about the J.R.R. Tolkiens, that totally are aware of the Fellowship of the Lord of the whatever. That's who these people think you guys are out in the audience.
Literally, like, and I was like, are you gonna fall off your chair? Please
No?
no.
Look at the totally not scripted, 100% authentic banter between these influencers. You could just tell that this is like sitting in on these guys at a party, having a completely natural conversation, not at all being fed talking points about the series from Amazon Studios about what they want to promote for the series. Honestly, I would doubt that Amazon even hired these people. These guys just naturally gathered together, put this up on the internet.com, and Amazon bought it later because it's so authentic in their charisma and chemistry with one another that there's no way it could be replicated. I mean, again, this is the Fellowship of the Influencers.
I would say like expansive, because
Yeah.
we're getting this like whole new look into the second age on screen, and it's gonna be so amazing. I also want to say representative, because we're getting like more diversity within this series. Like, we're seeing our first black elf, we're seeing the first female dwarf, and I'm very looking forward to like looking at that.
So of course we have our first mention of the diversity in the casting, the representation. Coincidentally, these people who Amazon is saying that they're marketing the show to based on diversity are emphasizing the very same things that Amazon is emphasizing, which is a gloss over of the fact that it's a prequel and it takes place during the Second Age, but a hyper emphasis on the fact that there's a black elf and there's a female black dwarf, and there's so much diversity and representation on the screen, and people are actually excited for the representation on the screen. Now, before you guys point out that maybe my hat isn't as up to date and hip with the sideways look and all that, I just want to ask the question, are earrings like this still popular, or is that also trapped in the 90s like my look?
Probably more than 3 words. But I'll take it. I love it.
Thank you. I'm an over-explainer.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Oh man, yo, that's how excited people is about this Lord of the Rings series is. This guy was so excited, he didn't even remember that they were trying to do a 3-word limit and how you were going to describe your feels, but he got lost in it because the Lord of the Rings series is so exciting and so interesting and so compelling that he could not contain himself. Please, for the love of God, watch the Lord of the Rings series. We spent $500 million on season 1 and we totally missed the mark in Tolkien's work. Please, for the love of God, watch the series.
I would say awestruck, mystified and starstruck.
Wow.
Very strong words.
That is like the word for the next teaser trailer.
Yeah.
Or just like
Popping
popular.
up with your name on the byline.
Wow, just so strong. I was awestruck, starstruck, and something struck. And honestly, that's what needs to be in the words for the next trailer, because the text in this trailer was incredibly generic. It was like, before the ring, before this. It was not very interesting at all, because again, this trailer was incredibly generic.
So in the teaser trailer, and obviously with a lot of stuff that you've probably read about it, we're introduced to the first black elf. We're introduced to the first female dwarf. Now, diversity, especially on screen as an actor, means a lot to me, because growing up, I hardly had that, you know, watching TV and watching a lot of films and stuff. Never saw people of my color. So it's exciting to see that, you know, diversity is being explored in the Rings of Power.
So this guy, by the way, who said he was an actor, which makes sense because this is 100% fake, manufactured, and acting, talks about how diversity is really important, and we got the first female dwarf and the first black elf, and that's really important, and it's also really exciting. I'm very excited for the diversity. Are you excited for the diversity? And then the next guy immediately repeats the line back, because the talking point is people are excited about this diversity.
What are your thoughts on the casting decisions then?
I'm very excited for it because Tolkien's work was always about being inclusive. I mean, we see it through the Fellowship, like a bunch of people from different backgrounds coming together in order to face a common enemy, being Sauron, and just seeing the casting decisions. It's really, really exciting to see. It's just going to mean so much to like me personally because it's getting that representation in Middle-earth. Young kids are going to see that on screen, and it's just going to be really nice for them to be like, oh, hey, there's someone that looks just like me, being like an elf and a dwarf, and yeah, it just fills me with a lot of hope for like the future of the Rings of Power and seeing like much more diversity being included as well.
Also, another thing that makes me laugh about this is the phrase "me personally" being used there, because Red Letter Media has this show called Nerd Alert where they make fun of all these people who are basically Marvel and DC shills or shills for Disney that do these podcasts, and they're always being subsidized or promoted or given favor by the corporation, and they always lead off their sentences with "me personally." Me personally in entertainment talk means I'm being told to say this, but it has to be authentic, so I'm gonna lead it with "me personally, I'm very excited." Also, he said excited so many times in that sentence. Stop saying you're excited about the diversity. And he mentions that there's diversity in the original series because there's different groups coming together to destroy the Ring of Power in the original Fellowship of the Ring. That's the kind of diversity that was in the Tolkien universe. You're trying to change that up and incorporate diversity from the outside world because you're interested in putting your politics into the series. What's very interesting is that Peter Jackson deliberately decided not to do this in honor and giving deference to Tolkien's work because he had that respect for it, and this just goes to show you Amazon has no such respect for that. They don't respect Tolkien, and they don't respect the fans because they say these are the representatives of the fans. These are the super fans.
Kids are going to see that on screen, and it's just going to be really nice for them to be like, oh, hey, there's someone that looks just like me, being like an elf and a dwarf, and yeah, it just fills me with a lot of hope for like the future of the Rings of Power and seeing like much more diversity being included as well.
It's going to be inspiring, right, for the next generation.
Definitely.
What about you, Chanel?
In the original film series, which I absolutely adored, but there are not many women in it, and the three women who are in it never speak to one another. I don't really. So it will be so cool to be able to see more female representation, to maybe see them actually interact with one another. Very excited to see it.
It's so diverse and it's going to be inspiring, and kids are going to be inspired for the next generation. It's so inspiring, bro. What are your thoughts about this inspiring, exciting, inspiring diversity that's exciting and inspiring and exciting and diverse?
Very excited to see it.
Also, unsurprisingly, she's excited, and while she... Oh, hold on.
Three women who are in it never speak to one another. I don't really. So it will be so cool to be able to see more female representation, to maybe see them actually interact with one another. Very excited to see it.
What about you, Coach?
Also, again, we hear about how she's excited and how she totally loved the original Lord of the Rings films, but those three women characters, they never talked to each other, and that always bothered her. And then the other girl's like, yeah, girl, that did happen. And we all love the original films, however many there were, because we definitely are Tolkien superfans and we love the original films, but this diversity is really exciting. I'm so excited for this diversity. It's just exciting. I mean, I'm like, what's the word I'm looking for? Excited!
Oh, it just makes me so excited for the next generation.
Look, I know that Amazon likely fired all the good writers associated with Lord of the Rings, and because of the fact that they have all these diversity quotas, they probably fired the good writers for this little bit promoting the Lord of the Rings. But typically, when you're writing characters and they're all sounding exactly the same, saying the exact same thing, it means you're not doing a good job at writing. Again, we have somebody saying exciting for the next generation, and I was excited because the buzzword is excited about diversity and think about the next generation. All of these characters in this fictitious marketing campaign that is meant to be authentic are using the exact same words to describe what we're talking about. Is this not the most obvious thing you've ever seen in your entire life?
Because, like, as you said, like, growing up, like, I was still excited about being an elf or a hobbit and joining in with it, even though I wasn't represented, like, even, like, my disability or my queerness wasn't represented. It just makes me so happy, it makes my heart warm, like, gonna be seeing younger people.
So she also says she was excited about the original ones, but she's more excited about this one because even in the original ones, she wasn't represented in terms of her disability or in terms of her queerness. By the way, take note of the fact that Amazon's diversity quota requires 50% of the people speaking to be women, requires LGBT people, and requires people that have disabilities to appear in speaking roles in their productions. This is an Amazon production, and those quotas are being met. And by the way, those quotas can be met by a combination of people. So you're allowed to have 2 or more of the features in one person. That's totally fine and align with their quota. This very performative thing follows Amazon's diversity quota because that's how rigid and committed they are, and that's how unaware of the fact about how obvious ridiculous this actually looks.
Literally.
The Rings of Power is the reason why the 4 of us are sitting here today.
Literally.
And it's like, we
Literally.
probably wouldn't have if the series wasn't being made.
Like you said,
Yeah.
it really is a true like meaning of fellowship.
Yeah, we're a fellowship.
Yeah.
The Rings of Power is what's bringing us here today. If it wasn't for Amazon's great series, our gracious overlords at Amazon, we probably wouldn't be sitting here, all of us super fans that are hip with the kids, the Fellowship of Influences. Isn't the Rings of Power and Amazon great? And I'm excited for the diversity and for the next generation, but it's bringing us together.
So from the teaser trailer, what intrigued you the most?
Rings happening or like being formed.
In the lore, like Sauron basically like helps forge the rings, and so I think they start making like some initial rings that like don't have much power. So, but
The way
yeah,
you describe it sounds like Sauron's in like a ring store. Like, I'm a size
One of
R.
those, one of those.
I mean, again, we have another instance of people saying the same thing. She says, I'm excited about rings getting made. Are rings a part of this story? I forgot my line. And then this guy's like, yeah, in Sauron, he made the Rings of Power, and he's excited about the rings. And then we shift to people being excited about where are we in the Second Age, and where are we in the Second Age.
what I spotted from the trailer was just like how expansive of a look we're gonna get towards like the Second Age.
Yeah.
It's been not previously like very much touched upon, and so I'm very excited to see how Prime Video like takes it and just shows us
Yeah.
this whole kind of new look at Middle-earth.
Watching the trailer and trying to work out, right, where are we here, the locations and the sets, it's all very exciting. So just trying to theorise what we're going to see in the series, because there's still so much we don't know.
I also want to know why they were fighting. Who's fighting? Why are they fighting?
Literally.
Where are we? Who
Yeah.
are they? What's going on?
I mean, it's not Middle-earth without a bit of beef.
It's not Middle-earth without them beefing. Again, if you're going to have a bunch of people basically on teleprompter, you gotta give them different words in their teleprompter. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. And we're not gonna watch this video all the way through. I don't got the patience for it. I've actually never seen this all the way through. I can't stand it. We're just gonna get to this next part because, again, this is what Amazon thinks of you, Lord of the Rings fans. This is how much they respect you, and that is what you can expect from the Lord of the Rings TV series.
All right, let's talk main characters. Give me your theories of who you might have seen in the teaser trailer.
I've seen a
Galadriel.
lot of talking about my girl Galadriel.
Yeah.
My girl Galadriel. That part in the trailer when she come around waterfall with the knife and like,
Yes.
I'm already obsessed.
Oh, we got my girl Galadriel. Yo, that's who I'm excited about. When I seen her come out with the knife, I was like, oh wow, I'm so good. And then the other girl, coincidentally, is on the same page and she's obsessed with the same character. Wow, she's just so amazing, the strong woman lead of the show. Galadriel, we're so excited to see her. Like, look at her with the knife. Wow, Galadriel. Amazing. My girl Galadriel. Again, this is how they think young people talk. And this is how they think people who are fans of The Lord of the Rings will become more interested in this series because this is marketing material. They are literally insulting your intelligence by every frame of this promo, and I'm just amazed that this actually was out there. And of course, Amazon, who actually didn't have the sense to not release this, took this down, so somebody at Amazon has some level of sense.
Time she's like full on.
because we are so far in the past, and I'm so
Yeah.
excited to just see this younger version of her, and there's so much.
Who knows, man? She might have gone to school. Like, Galadriel, you're in detention. No magic in the class.
Oh, she's excited to see this younger version of her, and then this guy comes in with a joke about how she was in school, and they're all like, oh, we have to laugh. He's so hip. Look at him with his uncontrollable hand spasms.
I mean, I want her dagger. It
It's
looks
very cool.
stunning and beautiful, and I
You might
want
have to
it.
fight for it, man, because she looks good at that.
She would kill me.
I want her dagger, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, wow, yeah, the dagger that she put in the snow that you see for like a split second, it's so cool, but you're gonna have to fight her for it because she's a strong woman and she'll probably defeat you. But yeah, they all want her dagger. It's so iconic. Isn't it iconic? Because Amazon is literally telling you that that dagger is going to be iconic. That dagger, by the way, is iconic. Like, they're saying it's iconic. I know this normally happens naturally, naturally. But trust me, they're gonna tell you right now, this is the Fellowship of the Influencers, that the dagger is iconic, and I want the dagger. But you're not gonna be able to get the dagger because she's a strong woman, and she'll probably kill you because she's so strong as strong woman.
I'm definitely excited to see like this kind of younger and maybe more inexperienced Galadriel.
You might think I'm repeating myself too much in this video, but it's because they're all repeating themselves. We have the word excited, the buzzword of the day, and he's talking about how she's younger and not as experienced, and they're excited to see her as younger and not experienced, aka the same takes as these other people. But this is what I'm going to close with because I cannot stand any more of this, and it just made me laugh because there's a point where this guy looks behind him, reads the title of the show, and uses that to complete his sentence.
And just see kind of how how we see through the rings of power, like how the experiences will shape her.
These people aren't saying anything. I'm so excited to see her when she's younger. I'm so excited to see how the title's called Rings of Power. The rings, there's rings in this universe. The Rings of Power will shape her into a growing up. I'm so excited.
I want to know whose the hand was at the end.
Yeah, that was
Hobbit?
interesting because it was a little hand. I think that was a
It was a
hobbit.
hobbit. I am all about hobbits, as you can tell. So
I wonder any theories on who the hobbit might be, if it is a hobbit.
So then the next girl talks about how she's excited about the little hand and how she's like, oh, I wonder if it's a hobbit. I'm so excited for the hobbits. I'm all about the hobbits. I'm such a super fan of the Lord of the Rings. There's the hobbits and all that.
Is it a young Smeagol?
Maybe like some ancestor of the Baggins or something.
Yeah.
Always
Could be.
those Bagginses getting into trouble.
I'm sorry, but no, wrong, incorrect, not even close. I know that there are people who do reaction videos to trailers, and they do get overly excited, but they're hamming that up based on the fact that these trailers are just disconnected images splattered together with some narration and text. This is not exciting or intriguing or anything like that. It is artificially created to give you the illusion of that, but if you have an IQ higher than the average 5-year-old, you will not be excited by this. But also, again, these super fans who just nail it every time talk about Frodo Baggins, and they're like, those Bagginses, I know what Frodo Bagginses is. I'm a super fan of Lord of the Rings. That's like Bagginses. They're always messing stuff up. Frodo Baggins, Bilbo Baggins. I know what those things are. Are there rings in this show?
They should never have left the Shire.
I have to disagree. We wouldn't have a whole thing if they didn't leave.
That's true. That's very true.
What a crucial point. We wouldn't have the story of the Lord of the Rings, which is the story of Frodo leaving the Shire with the Ring of Power to destroy it, without them leaving the Shire to destroy it. Thank you for that commentary. Look, I can't continue on this. I'm done. I'm checking out right here. This is, again, what Amazon thinks of you. This is who Amazon is marketing the show to. And like I said multiple different times, it's not diverse casting that makes a show woke. It's the ideology behind that, and it can sometimes be manifested in the diverse casting. There was a great snippet from a video that Lauren Chen did on the Amazon series, where she talks about how they had employed a very prestigious Tolkien historian who has a lot of respect for the lore in the creation of this show. And of course, at some point, they fired this guy, and then replaced him with some feminist who writes about gender theory in the Tolkien universe. Again, it's not just the casting, it's the ideology behind the casting, behind the writing choices, that ruined the series. That's not what Lord of the Rings is about. Modern gender theory is not what Tolkien envisioned. These people keep talking about queer representation and all this stuff. Tolkien infused Catholicism into the story. He actually said he went back after it was written and punched up the Catholic elements in it because he wanted to have Catholic elements in his show. So they're not going with what was originally intended. They're not going with the spirit of the author. They're deliberately changing it, modernizing it, and mocking you while they're doing so. That's why a lot of people are against this series. It's not the diversity on its own. It's a lack of care for the intellectual property, for the source material, and a lack of respect for the author. The absolute nerve, the audacity to think that these modern garbage writers, these feminist theorists that are in the writer's room, are going to fix one of the most successful fantasy series in the history of the world, one of the most influential books in the UK's history, with their woke politics, is what is turning people off. It's what's turning people against the series. And no amount of cheap, nonsensical marketing ploys trying to be hip to the young people, no amount of hand waving from a guy whose first name rhymes with his last name is going to convince people otherwise. If you want the fans to be on board, you don't call them racist or sexist, you respect the source material, because the only reason you're making this is based on the built-in fans of that source material. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links. This has been me talking about the Lord of the Rings cringe promo. Till next time.